Hi, I'm Cass, a sleep and mindfulness expert and coach at Aura, an all in one mental wellness app, which I personally love. And I'm here today to walk us through a guided meditation, which is one of my favorite things to do. Before we do that, I want to just talk to you a little bit about some of the common things that I hear from people when I tell them that I teach meditation. And actually, I was giving a talk last weekend to a group of doctors, and I had so many of them come up to me before we started and say, "Oh, I would love to meditate, but I have too many thoughts to meditate, or meditation doesn't work for me." And I have to say that the people who say that are my absolute favorite people to introduce meditation to, because there's, as I'm sure you've heard, many myths out there about what meditation actually is. And if we think of meditation just being, someone sitting in a yoga posture, perfectly still with a perfectly clear mind, that's really not accessible. And it's actually not realistic for most of us. And meditation is so much more than that. And I'm really, really passionate about sharing meditation in a practical, accessible way. And so I want to introduce a really kind of basic but really helpful principle, and then we'll go into a guided practice. And it's something I call attention training. And it's something that I share with people who particularly tell me, "Oh, I have too many thoughts to meditate." And with attention training, attention being, we can in any moment choose to put our attention on to something. So right now, ideally, you're putting your attention onto the sound of my voice and what I'm saying. But naturally, your attention is also going to be bouncing to a bunch of other things, like a sound in the room, a thought about lunch or what's happening later, or an email pings you, or something happens and your attention gets pulled. This is completely normal in how our brain is designed to work. It's designed to kind of bounce around our internal and our external environment in order to keep ourselves orientated to where we are, and basically to keep ourselves safe. So the fact that your attention bounces between things in your internal and your external environment is completely normal. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. And I like to think about it this way: is if someone has never been to the gym before, or say you hadn't been to the gym in 10 years and hadn't lifted any weights in 10 years, if you suddenly went to the gym on some, inspiration, you wouldn't expect yourself to be able to bench press a huge amount of weight, considering that you hadn't picked up a weight in 10 years. So you would start ideally with a lower weight, consistency, and then over time and over, a series of visits to the gym, your capacity and your strength will improve, and then you can lift heavier and heavier weights. The same thing applies to meditation. If you have never taken time consistently to train your attention or train your focus, we can't expect ourselves to suddenly be able to focus for 20 minutes without any distractions. It's really unrealistic. So one of my teachers used to say, a little and often is what really makes a difference. Just a little bit of practice of focusing attention, and often makes a huge difference. Just like doing reps at a gym, bicep curl, a little and often makes a huge difference. If you'll indulge me, I will give you one more analogy and then we'll get started, and walk with me on this one. So imagine that you're in a dark room, and in this room, it's you, and you have a flashlight. You can turn your flashlight on, and in the room, you can direct your flashlight in any direction that you want to. So it doesn't matter what's happening in front of you. If you direct your flashlight over your shoulder to the other wall, you'll have a completely different visual experience than if you direct the flashlight at your left foot or on a different wall or in a different corner or in a different object. Doesn't mean that what's happening over here doesn't exist. It just means that that's not what you're focusing your flashlight on in the moment. And what we focus our flashlight on in the moment is what is illuminated and is what we see. So you're probably getting a sense of how this relates to a meditation or an attention-focused practice. You know, in any given moment, we have so much data happening, our senses, our thoughts, what's happening around us in the external environment, what's happening in our internal environment. And when we're just going about our day, most of the time, our attention, which is like our flashlight, is kind of bouncing around without any real rhyme or reason. It gets pulled into the future, it gets pulled into the past, it goes to so many different things in any moment. And so what we're doing in a meditation or an attention practice is we're becoming aware of, what am I putting my attention on in any given moment? And then making a choice. Do I want to be putting my attention on this in any given moment? Is it helping me move towards the state of mind or the activity that I want to be doing? Or is it distracting and unhelpful for me to be doing, or for me to be pointing my attention in this direction in this given moment? So it doesn't mean we have to make thoughts go away. It doesn't mean we have to change what's happening in our internal or external environment. It's a practice. It's actually very empowering of going, what do I want to be focused on in this moment? And in a meditation practice, often that's focusing on the breath. So there'll be thoughts, there'll be sounds, there'll be distractions. But the practice is, I'm choosing in this moment that of all the things that I could focus on, and all the things I could point my flashlight towards, I'm going to choose to point it towards my breath. And then it'll wander off, and then we bring it back. And then it'll wander off, and we'll bring it back. And each time we come back to what we're choosing to focus on, it's like we're doing one of our metaphorical bicep curls at the gym. We're bringing our attention back, and we're strengthening the muscle of our attention. Okay. So with that in mind, I'm going to guide us through a meditation practice. We could also call this an attention or focus practice. And I'm going to invite you to get really comfortable. You can be, you're probably seated maybe at a desk, but if you're listening to this on the go or you're in the car, I invite you to pull over, give yourself a chance to really take these next maybe like 7 minutes to put down the distractions and do some internal bicep curls and direct your attention inwards. So if you feel comfortable, you can let your eyes close. Just going to keep an eye on the time. Good. Let your eyes close. And before we do anything, just start to notice what your internal flashlight is doing right now. What your attention is doing right now. Is it focused on your environment? Is it more focused on your internal environment? Is it bouncing all over the place like an excited puppy? Or is it relatively stable and focused on a few things? Just notice. And there's no right answer, no ideal. We just want to notice, what is our attention doing in this moment? And then when you're ready, I invite you to deliberately now focus your attention on your breath. So locate where and how do you feel your breath in your body in this moment? Maybe in the feeling of your abdomen expanding and then softening. Maybe you can feel your breath in your chest. Or perhaps your nostrils or somewhere else entirely. Just find an anchor for your attention, somewhere to focus your attention on where you feel your breath in your body in this moment. Know that it's totally normal for your attention to wander off every second or even more than that. And that each time you notice your attention has wandered off and you bring it back to your breath, you're doing our metaphorical bicep curl. You're strengthening your attention just a little each time you return to where you feel your breath. And then something that can be helpful if your attention is really distracted this morning is to repeat what we call a mantra silently in time with your breath. So one that I really like is, as you feel your breath come in, silently say to yourself, I am. And as your breath goes out, silently say to yourself, here now. So with each breath cycle, you're repeating, I am here now. And this gives your mind something else to do that's in time with your breath that can really help focus in on the breath and let everything else just kind of fade into the background for now. And then when you're ready, I invite you to now let your attention just scan throughout your body. So let your attention, your flashlight, scan throughout your body and just start to notice any areas that are, let me say, unnecessarily tight. So for me, I'm noticing my left shoulder, my forehead, my abdomen. So I invite you to just notice any areas in your body that are unnecessarily tight in this moment. And then if it feels right to you, you can just gently allow these parts of your body to soften just like 2% more. And then when you're ready, bring your attention, your inner flashlight up to your face. And just start to notice all of the different sensations that are present in your face. Maybe the feeling of the air touching your skin. And then can you let your forehead smooth itself out 2% more? And you let your eyes soften, the back hinge of your jaw soften. And you let your whole face soften just a little. And then when you're ready, bring your attention to your shoulders and invite your shoulders to soften just a little. And then bring your attention down your arms and into your hands. And just notice, what are the sensations that you can feel in your hands? And the more you focus your attention onto your hands, perhaps the more aware of sensation you become. And the great thing about doing this kind of focused attention practice is the more we focus on our hands and the warmth or tingling or even the pulse that you might be able to feel in your hands, the more we focus on the hands, the less we focus on everything else. It's not like we have to struggle with our thoughts or our experience, but by focusing in, shining our flashlight closely onto our hands, naturally everything else just kind of fades a little into the background. And then when you're ready, shift your attention now down your legs and all the way to your feet. And again, just start to notice, what are the sensations you can feel in your feet? Maybe where your feet meet the floor or meet shoes or socks. If it's helpful, you can wriggle your toes a little so you can sense the movement. And again, really noticing what happens as you focus your attention on your feet. Not trying to change anything about your experience or even make anything happen. Just focusing your attention on what's already here in your feet. And then when you feel ready, re-find your breath now. Find where you feel your breath most in your body now, and shine your attention there. Notice if your breath feels any different now than it did at the beginning of our meditation practice. Maybe you feel it in a different place in your body. Maybe the depth or the rhythm feels different, or maybe not. Just notice. And then when you feel ready, I invite you to wriggle your fingers and your toes. Become aware once again of the room that you're in. You can let your eyes blink themselves open slowly and reorientate yourself to the room that you're in. You can look around. You can have a stretch if that feels good to you. And just notice, how do you feel now after taking that little bit of time to just deliberately focus your attention? So I'm so grateful to get to share this practice with you. It's seemingly simple, but not easy, and really powerful to have a little bit of time regularly where we practice focusing attention. And if you liked this session, you can come follow me on Aura. I have a bunch of other tracks there on meditation, on mindfulness, on sleep, on relaxation. And there's a whole range of wonderful coaches and content. And I'd love to see you guys there. Thank you so much for meditating with me and the whole team at Aura. And I wish you all a wonderful day and great, great conference.